Yo, guys, what's going on? Lucky Cheese 7 is back again to give you guys another Boruto Naruto Next Generations manga live stream discussion. First of all, it's been a while since I've actually talked about Boruto. And number two, if anyone's curious as to why I haven't exactly been super consistent on my channel, well, if you can hear my throat, your boy's still kind of dealing with a bit of a sore throat. Well, I mean, it is that time of year where, people get sick and all that other stuff. But with that said, given the fact that we have two chapters of Boruto to cover, I was like, I need to talk about this because there's a lot I need to talk about when it comes to 72, and especially with chapter 73. Now, I'll do this. For those of you new to my stream, what I usually do is I kind of go through like a breakdown of the chapter, and then I kind of, and as I'm kind of breaking it down, I kind of also interlude my thoughts on the chapter too. Kind of it's in a way you kind of get like two things in one, because I know some people like to just break down the chapter and then like, okay, let's talk about the rest of it. I like to go in between where I'm giving my thoughts on these chapters while I'm breaking them down. So in chapter 72, we have this beautiful color page on with Shiki. Chapter title obviously was called Smaller, More Usual, and it started off with Kawaki. I told you, I don't know anything. I'm gonna restore my karma without my permission. And Shikamaru was like, so he said. But it seems he may have some other motive. So essentially the entire gist of this conversation is trying to figure out what the heck's going on with Amado. I think that's the first portion of the chapter too, because you see Kawaki not exactly sure what's going on. And of course throwing a bit of an attitude, which Naruto kind of calls him out on, but you know, what Kawaki's saying is the truth. Why pretend otherwise? And of course you have Kawaki playing coy by like saying, maybe you should be glad, and obviously that kind of triggers Shikamaru, but Naruto's like, hey, calm down. But then he also tells Kawaki, you know what? No, that's enough. Which, interestingly enough, Amano gets the call to Shikamaru, and he's like, wait a second, what? So Amado's there. You see Ada. You see Damon. Ah, Shikamaru, good to hear your voice. Yeah, everything hurts, but I'm still alive. Unfortunately. And Shikamaru was like, I can't believe it. What the heck happened? Where are you? A train station on the outskirts of the land of snow. It'll take 3 to 4 days to return to Konoha. What about Code? Neither he nor his claws, or his claw marks, better be nearby. No worries, I've already checked. I won't fall for the same trick as you. But speaking of Code, I got good news, Shikamaru. Ada's cut ties with Code. She won't be aiding him anymore. He lost his greatest ally, and that entire thing throws Shikamaru off. He's like, wait, that's actually pretty good, but what did you do? Just talked. Convinced Ada to come join Konoha, and she accepted. Which, again, throws Shikamaru off. He's like, wait, she actually accepted? And, you kind of have a little banner going on between the two of them, telling Shikamaru, yeah, better prepare a nice room for her. And Shikamaru is still just trying to go like, wait, hold on a second. There's someone else with Code though, right? And he does lay off the being that, yeah, there's Damon, who is, essentially Ada's little brother, and he'll explain more on that when the time comes. Her little brother? Well, wait a second, Amado. You had no authority to make deals like that on your own. And Amado kind of brings up a point to Shikamaru. It's like, yeah, it's the same thing with me too. Like you're in no position to make things like that either. It's all up to Ada. Once she's made up her mind, we'll no longer have any alternative to comply with, right? And he's like, "Ah, remember, you started this. What's definite is that you don't want these siblings as your enemies. Trust me on that. And one more thing. This is somewhat bad news, but I reconsent. I rescinded Code's limit. And he's like, "You what? I had no choice. It was that or die." Be forward thinking, Shikamaru. Code is stronger now, for sure. But he no longer has Ada. That's actually a mortal blow to his battle strength. With Ada and Damon added to Konoha's arsenal, Code should be insignificant. You're good with game pieces, right? Well, the rest is in your hands. And, well, of course, Shikamaru's like, oh, all right, fine. But I've got a ton of questions for you. Yeah, I know. Later. I know, ultimately, Amado just needs to get back. And as that whole thing is going down, Ada's like, "Hey, can you play matchmaker? Help me play matchmaker with Kawaki." Obviously, you've still got that whole Ada X Kawaki thing going on, which is it's one of those things where I'm like, you don't really need at this point in time, but given Ada's character and given her introduction, the fact that Kawaki is somewhat essential to her, it's just one of those things, if you know what I mean. So she pretty much just says, "Hey, if things don't go well between the two of us, I'll kill you out of spite." And which again, that throws Amado off, but she says, "Well, I mean, that should be obvious, all right? I need to get what I want. So do your best for your own sake." That's going down, and Shikamaru is like, "All right, summon Naruto to Lord Hokage's office and bring up Team 7 as well, including Kawaki." Then we get to the second portion of the chapter. And the second portion of the chapter, oh my god, like my heart went out to this because, oh man, Boruto's getting ready. Okay, he puts his headband on, the same one that Sasuke gave him, and then you see the karma mark that's on Boruto. He's walking downstairs. He's putting the shoes on. He's saying, "I'm heading out," and then you see Hinata say, "Boruto, I heard you have a mission. Is that true?" And Boruto's like, "Yeah, a direct direct summons from Uncle Shikamaru, no less. Team Seven's been on total hiatus because of my karma, so Sarada and Mitsuki are champing it at the bit." And you can just tell, like, on the look Hinata has, like, there's no tears yet, but you could just tell, like, she's a bit on edge about this because she's like, "I see, that's great." And Boruto immediately says, "Mom," with a question mark, which second he says that, then next panel you see a tear fall off from her eye. And then she kind of starts covering. She's like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry. I didn't intend to be a mess. I mean, I know I need to see you off with a smile, but it's just that." And then, of course, Himawari's there too, just watching this whole thing. "Whenever you head out somewhere, I just can't help thinking that this time you're not going to come back." In a sense, you could say she's being, a mom. But to be fair, given the life Hinata led and everything that led up to where she needed to be. The fact that there's still danger going on in the world. I mean, it's a pretty normal thing to be, concerned for your child. That's not something to say like, oh, doesn't have faith in Boruto. It's not that. It's just that she's worried about her child. That's a normal thing. Whether you're a ninja or not, like parental instincts are gonna kick in, and you're gonna be like, man, I hope I hope he's good. I just hope he's fine. Stuff like that happens though, and that puts Boruto not in a doozy. But it brings up something that I think a lot of people need to take into account, and that's the fact that Boruto he has been developing as a character. He's not the same bratty boy we met in the beginning of the story. Say, Boruto the movie, or during the lead up to the versus Momoshiki arc. All of that, you know, like, yeah, there's still elements of that in Boruto, but if you see where Boruto was and where he is right now, there is a change. It's just a very, how do I put it? A slow burn change, if you will. Because you see Boruto saying, like, I'm sorry to keep making you worry. I don't know the mission's details yet, but it seems something only my team can carry out. So I don't really have a choice, do I? And to be fair, though, when it comes to like Boruto's family, like when it comes to like his mother and for his sister, like we've seen that Boruto, does indeed care about them. It's not just about like, oh, he's worried about his own, his own personal things. It's not like he's saying, no, forget the family. I'm doing what I need to do. It's nothing like that at all. A lot of like the bratty Boruto nature obviously came from, well, him and Naruto, but after the events of that movie, they did patch things up. And we see the bond that Naruto and Boruto have currently. I know, especially with the anime too, which I gotta do a stream on that at some given point. That's it though. You see this, you see Hinata just wiping the tears off her face. And Boruto very cheekily, kind of like how his dad used to be like, "Hey, it'll be all right." I mean, I even died that once, but I came back totally fine. And then you see Himawari. Himawari's just there, she's just listening in on all this. I'll come back home no matter what. I promise. And then I see Hinata, with her hand to her chest, and she just says, "Be careful, okay?" And I'm pretty sure we see like Boruto just has that smirk on his face. He walks out the door. My guess is that when it comes to the anime, like the OST is gonna like really drive us home. I think anyway. When we get this in the anime, I can only imagine like the feels that are gonna erupt from just this one scene alone. But it was a good scene. I personally like that scene between Hinata and Boruto, and it's not something we really get to see that often in the manga. I know in the anime we get a lot of that when it comes to like, or not a lot of it, but like it's sprinkled within the anime from time to time where we get these moments between mother and son. It happened in Boruto the movie. It happened again. The lead up to the Boruto the movie stuff in the anime, we see that, and it's like I said, it's like sprinkled here and there, like within like each subsequent arc, whether it's like at the beginning of the arc or if it's like at the tail end of the arc. You get little moments like that in the anime, but in the manga, it's not really touched on as much. So I'll definitely say for anime only, this is going to be a really great scene. But that said, then we get to this with Boruto and Momoshiki. So Boruto's there. He looks over to the side. Momoshiki's there. And he's like, Momoshiki. And he's like, you promised to come home? How irresponsible. He's like, hey, freeloader. You can't resurrect anymore, right? Why are you still sticking around? And Momoshiki just says, let me ask you, boy. Why do you still cling to your meaningless existence? When you know your future holds nothing but despair. Which, again, that's been a topic that's been brought up time and time again within the manga, especially in the last arc. Not the last arc, but the versus Momoshiki arc is that those blue eyes will eventually take everything away from Boruto. And based on the time skip that we saw way in the beginning of the first episode, like the opening, something leads to that event. We don't know exactly what it is. I'm assuming what we're about to dive into is what gets us there. I'm assuming, but Boruto just says like, "What?" And he's like, "I told you that you are going to lose everything." And at that moment, no, and he says, and that moment is rapidly approaching. So that kind of gets me wondering if like this is going to be the akin to part one Sasuke retrieval arc. I'm only saying that because you had the search for Tsunade, and then you got the Sasuke retrieval arc. If we're going based off the manga, I know with the anime you had that really short filler arc, which I think definitely added a lot more to the Naruto and Sasuke dynamic, and it comes to the whole separation of Team Seven. That definitely did elevate that, which is really good. But the fact that he's saying that that moment is rapidly approaching kind of makes me wonder if we're gonna dive into that soon. Like, it's either something happens in this specific arc. Actually, now that I think about it, is the code arc like officially finished? Or are we still stuck in the code arc? Because that just clicked to me right now. Yeah, I'm talking about like possibilities, and I'm like thinking, wait, is this a new arc or are we just stuck in somewhere? So let's see real quick. So the manga, if I'm looking at this correctly, where's the like I said, like code arc? Okay, yeah, so this is still technically a part of the code arc. So this arc still isn't finished yet. I would assume based on last chapter, like, yeah, based on chapter 71, that yeah, this arc is finished. But no, we're still stuck in this arc, which I'm not complaining about. It just makes me wonder what we're gonna get next with the story, you know? So, perhaps this could very well be like the last thing we get before the time skip, in my personal opinion. And I think so far, if we're looking volume wise, let me think. Because from what I've noticed, especially with the anime, not with the anime, but with the manga side of things. I mean, it's not always like a predetermined thing, but let's take this into account. The Mujina Bandits arc, that was only volume 4. Volume 4 only covered that. Then you get the Owl arc, which covered volumes 5 and 6. And then the Kawaki arc happened. And the Kawaki arc was from volume 7 all the way up to, I want to say, chapter 55. And that's up until volume 14. So that spanned it from like at least 7 volumes. And if we're gonna play that same game here, that this next arc, like this current arc we're in, the code arc, is gonna be like another 7 volume arc, Well, looking at it like this, we're currently like 3 volumes into this arc. So actually, no, not even three. It's 4 volumes because volume 18 just came out. So at the moment, we're on volume 19. That means that, and again, I'm just predicting here. That means probably within the next 2 volumes, the arc will wrap up. I'm thinking. I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong about that, but we'll see. Anyway, let me get back to this. So Boruto has a look on his face, and Momoshiki's like, "You shall despair, lose your will to live, enough to want to escape this world. And when that day comes, I shall take over and live Uzumaki Boruto's life for you." And I know there's a big theory going around that's like, "Hey, what if Boruto Uzumaki is the villain in the time skip?" Now that could be a case, but I don't know. Based on the opening of the chapter, to me, it really screams something happens to Kawaki. We don't know what it is, but we know something happens to him. And Momoshiki continues to say, "Wait, don't worry. All you'll need to do is just cower quietly in a corner of your psyche for eternity." And Boruto's like, "I don't care about resurrecting anymore. Since possessing your, or not Boruto, Momoshiki says, since possessing your body shall yield the same result." And again, Boruto is just completely thrown off. As he says, it'll happen soon enough. No matter what form it takes, you were always meant to be my vessel. And Boruto says, "You bastard, I let you run your mouth, but I am not in agreement with this. I'd rather die than hand myself over to you." And Momoshiki continues to say, "I won't let you die. Ever again. You are my precious vessel, my life. No one can have you." Almost very Orochimaru-esque, if you will. Me, I know a lot of people say Momoshiki's kind of like Boruto's Kurama, and I could definitely see that too. Like, he reminds me maybe of like old school Kurama, like super old school Kurama who didn't give two shits about what happened in Naruto, just as long as Naruto gave in. And personally, I know people have said, "Well, do you think Boruto and Momoshiki could like potentially team up very similarly to Naruto and Kurama?" I don't think so because Boruto, from the jump, has said, "This is my story, not the story of my father." You might have certain beats that are similar, but I do think you're going to get different outcomes in this case. Actually, you know what would be crazy is Boruto is the one that hops off from the leaf, and then Kawaki goes on his own little journey. That's what I'm thinking, but we'll see. And he's like, "That's my line, you freeloader. You've outlived your time. Get lost. You're gonna shove my consciousness into a corner? Fine, if that's even possible. I'll make sure you can never emerge again. You'll be the one to despair in the future." And you got Momoshiki like grinning like, "Sputter all you want. Your fate is already decided. I look forward to it, Uzumaki Boruto." "Hey, hold up, you bastard!" Which immediately got Sarada over here calling up Boruto's name, and Mitsuki. "Oh, you look prepared already. Wow, that's pretty quick for you. Are you all pumped up because of the mission?" And again, you see Boruto still gritting his teeth, obviously because of his conversation with Yoshiki. Sarada picks up on this, and she's like, "But Boruto? You gotta be kidding me! Give me a break! I'll decide my own fate. Thank you very much." It was actually kind of amusing because then you have Sarada going like, "What? Huh? What? What's up with you? This is beyond pumped. You're being weird." And then Boruto just, I don't want to say ride off into the sunset, but he just, flies off, just saying, "Oh yeah." And I love the meta dialogue from Sarada, just going like, "Hey, that's my line. What the?" And then Yamitsuki, even if he dies and comes back or becomes Ototsuki, Boruto will always be Boruto. And interestingly enough, we cut back to Hinata, which is where we also see Himawari pop in too. Like she's there and she says, "Mom, um, I was just thinking that if I became a ninja, maybe I could help Boruto out a little. Or would you worry even more?" And that little line of dialogue I find interesting because we know in the anime currently that Himawari is in the academy. We do know that. So the anime is gonna have to work around that a little bit. And they've done that before. Um like when you have like an arc that's akin to the car actuation arc, that did play its importance into the owl arc. So I do definitely think the Himawari Academy arc is gonna have some influence into this scene here in the anime. I think. I mean, sure, some things are gonna be a little altered. I can say that for sure. But there's gonna be something where, you know, we get something without a doubt. As you have Hinata say Himawari, then come back to Boruto, looking at his karma mark. "I won't let you do as you please, Momoshiki. You hear?" Then the last part of 72 is what I question the most. Like the first two-thirds of this chapter, I was like, okay, this chapter is actually pretty good. I wouldn't even argued it was like close to amazing tier. Then you get to this. Like this thing with Code. What it is, because Code shows back up. You see Bug. Ugh, damn it. Could you be a bit more gentle? Ugh, what is this place? And Code, like somewhere you normally can only get to using time space or space time ninjutsu. I'm an exception. I come and go via the claw marks I placed when Jigen brought me. We'd be in trouble if they disappeared. Hey, I better be able to get out of here. And you see Code looking over at, you know, the Ten Tails. Or at least, the second Ten Tails that's here. And it's like just looking over at Code like there's people, there's food. Because like now, have you been good? Bug's like, is this the fabled Ten Tails to whom you're feeding the Hokage's son? And Code's like, pesky Uchiha Sasuke can't come here anymore. But Boruto and Kawaki are full of Tsutsuki now. They might master space-time ninjutsu long before. Then this place will no longer be secure. And Bug's like, not my problem, but what's your plan now that you're on your own? Just as you got your strength back, you get totally pummeled by Damien. Yeah, by Damon. Then cut out of your lines like being kicked when you're already down. And then Code, like, honestly, Damon's strength was unexpected. Truly on another level. I was outclassed. And Bug's like, that's why I tried to stop you from waking him. I really wish you listened. And Code's like, well, no use obsessing over the past. I'm pretty messed up over my broken heart. Gonna try being a bit sympathetic. Throw me a bone or two. And Bug's just like, I don't get you. How can you be so nonchalant under these circumstances? And he's like, isn't it obvious? Because things are actually okay. Anyway, first let's adjust the ten tails into a more manageable size. Adjust. And like I said, this is the part where things are kind of strange. Like the whole conversation with Code and Bug, I actually thought it wasn't that bad. It was actually decent for the most part. But then when we get to the adjusting of the ten tails and seeing what Code does, like the way he adjusts the size and everything, in concept, I think is really cool. And it's a good way to utilize like a really serious threat into something that could be a problem for Konoha. Like that's just apparent. But my big thing is the design. Like I- I'll skim over all this, but when you look at the design of what these ten tails actually look like, I'm like, yo, like did Ikimoto really just take a page from DBZ? Like these things almost look like Frieza. I mean, I think the correct definition is that they're dinosaurs. That's I think what they called them. Like they have a bit of a dinosaurish approach to them. But yeah, like I remember I was stuck on this page for a little bit, thinking like, I'm like, okay, adjusting the ten tails into a more manageable size, I think works. That's totally plausible, and I'm fine with that. My big thing is the design. I was like, out of all the designs, this is what we got. And that kind of bothered me. I was like, all right, it's cool that we have an army that's, can cause havoc and destruction, but at least make him a bit more menacing. That's my thing. These obviously, I don't know. To me, it just screamed, "Hey, we kind of brought Cell into Boruto, so there's that." Totally creepy. Can travel via the claw marks. I mean, their abilities and everything, are nice and all, but again, it's the design. I think the design could have used a bit more creativity. That said, though, when it comes to chapter 72, overall, like I said, the first two thirds, maybe I would say 2/3 and a half, like 2.8 thirds, I think, was pretty good for this chapter. It was pretty good. Arguably great. The meh part in this chapter for me comes at the end with the designs. And like that's the big glaring weakness I see with the chapter is just the design of these adjusted forms for the Ten Tails. And based on that, I would just give this chapter like great. It's still a great chapter of Boruto. Again, I just wish the design of these adjusted Ten Tails looked a little bit more, you know, like terrifying, if you will. But that's just chapter 72. Let's jump into chapter 73. Oh, wow, I just realized that I've almost spent like 30 minutes on this, but I promise you this chapter itself probably won't take as long. So, chapter 73 is titled Special Mission, and it's a color page of Sarada. And yes, I know people have complained about, her outfit. But what can you say? It's the manga Sarada. I still have my issues with it, but I've just learned to move past it and just read the story. What could it be? A mission only our team can carry out? We've been practically out of action for so long. This is quite sudden. It must be something big. And it's what the conversation that's taking place with, with Team 7. And Boruto's like, maybe it's as simple as Uncle Shikamaru finally realizing that we're the most brilliant team in the whole village. Opens the core. Kawaki will be with us, so it'll be the launch of the new Team 7 this time. And see Shikamaru, see Kawaki, and Sumire's there too. Which, it's been a minute since we've seen Sumire. It's been like a quick minute. And Boruto's like, Kawaki, speaking of which, this is the first time I've seen him since I came back to life. And Kawaki's like, yo, I can't believe you revived yourself. Talk about a shock. And Boruto's like, yeah, sorry for all the fuss, but as you can see, I'm perfectly fine now. Then you get this shot of Sumire, like, you have like this little sweat panel fall. So, you know, kind of like Hinata being a little bit concerned for Naruto, you kind of have a similar approach here with Sumire. So, again, I'm not going to talk about potential ships here, but it throws Boruto, it gives Borusumi like another bone. Like, hey, here you go. And then she starts thinking back to the conversation that she had with Kawaki. You're not gonna condemn me for killing Boruto? So looks over Kawaki, and okay, this conversation is actually kind of cute because Sumire is like, "You definitely look well, Boruto. I'm so relieved." With the blush marks and everything too. And Boruto's like, "Class rep, sorry to have worried you. Sorry to long time no see." And then Kawaki looking over at Boruto, and you see Boruto kind of give. It's a gesture he gave to Sarada, not to Sarada, but to Sumire, like way early on in the story. As far as the anime is concerned, if I remember correctly, it's either during like the academy portion of the arc, or it was like during the mission that involved a Jugo. It's one of the two. If I had to guess, maybe it even happened during, the bell test. Maybe. But I gotta actually go back and check before I, make a full accurate uh answer as like, yeah, it happened here. That or one of you will probably correct me and just say, okay, look at you, this is where it happened. And that's fine. But pretty much, it's a similar gesture that Boruto gave to her like way back when. And Sarah kind of noticed that too. Kind of catches Kawaki's attention. And then Konohamaru was like, okay, guys, enough fun for the day. Sorry for the sudden summons, but. And Shikamaru says, let me jump right to the heart of it. So Kawaki, Sumire, Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki, they all turn towards him. Konoha is dealing with various issues right now. Well, that's true for any village, all the time. But Konoha has been subject to, especially, uh, Perluish situations lately. First, Boruto, which catches his attention. For quite a while now, we've had no idea when Momoshiki might take over your subconsciousness and run amok. Yet, not only have we not found any concrete solutions, your physical body has now become completely Otsutsuki. And Boruto automatically just says, I'm not liking the sound of this, with, a bit of sweat falling off from his face. And then he says, next is you, Kawaki. Not that you were ever docile, but now that you got Karma back, plus Ishiki's abilities, you're an entity that we can no longer control. At all. Which Kawaki kind of takes note of. Even if, unlike Boruto, there's no risk of Ishiki actually possessing you anymore, from this standpoint, that we can't keep that power in check, frankly, as the ones responsible for maintaining the peace and order of this village, we have to treat you as a threat. And again, Sumire just looking over Kawaki like, I don't know what to say about this. Got Boruto 2, got Mitsuki. Kawaki's like, hey, why don't you just come out and say it? And Mitsuki's like, don't get so defensive. Sarada, what Master Shikamaru is saying is the plain truth. And Boruto says it's the current state of Konoha. He's just making sure we know that. And again, that's kind of something Kawaki's not really liking too much. But Shikamaru says that's right. I feel bad having to put it so bluntly to you, but Konoha is currently bearing these two giant bombs right now. So I wanted to start off with all of you fully aware of this. See Boruto, or sorry, to Mitsuki, see Boruto. There's more. Amado called not too long ago. We didn't know his fate after Koda abducted him, but it seems he's okay. And Kawaki's like, he survived. Persistent bastard. We still don't know exactly how he got out of danger, but in the process, it seems he rescinded the limiters, suppressing Code's power. Again, I catch this sort of attention. Boruto's like, damn it, what's wrong with that old man? I'm sure it was unavoidable. In any case, with his full power restored, I hear Code's strength exceeds even Jigen's, whom it took both Naruto and Sasuke together to drive back. Which stuns Sumaringa and goes like, no way. Then again, it should still be less than Otsutsuki Ishiki's. So while he's definitely a formidable foe, we should be able to deal with him. And then Boruto's like, don't tell me our mission. Actually, it's not Boruto. No, he says, don't tell me our mission, Sarada, is for us to take down Code using Boruto and Kawaki Suzuki. I'm assuming that's actually Sarada talking. Because you do see these dot line off in the corner, so I'm assuming that's from Boruto. And then Sarada starts off the don't tell me our mission. Which Shikamaru says, no, that's not it. Yesterday, when Code attacked us in Lab 3, a certain woman showed up. A woman? Her name is Ada. Some of you may have already heard, but her ability instantly enchants everyone in her presence and renders them powerless. Ada. Even I couldn't do a thing. It was a first for me. Delta and I could have dealt with just Code, but then how are we supposed to stand against someone like that, is what Mitsuki's saying. And Shikamaru says, we only learned this afterwards, but there's a hole in her ability. Apparently, Otsutsuki are immune to its effects. And Sarada's like, what you mean? Which Shikamaru says, at the present, Boruto and Kawaki, these two bomb brat Konoha is harboring, are our only and best asset against Ada's ability. Again, kind of symbolizing the parallels here. Naruto Sasuke, Boruto Kawaki. And again, like Sumire is just, left like speechless about this whole thing. And Sarada's like, so our mission is to take Ada down? And Shikamaru's like, nope, that's not it either. Which they're like, but huh? And we cut over to the train. We see Amada, we see Ada, and Damon. I wonder what dear Shika is planning. What do you mean? First Code, now Ada? Looks like a heap of problems. What are we supposed to do? Is what Sarada says. And Boruto's like, quit holding back and just tell us what our mission is. Relax. I'm getting to the crucial part now. Ada originally showed up in front of us as Code's ally and collaborator. However, mine and Amado's plan bore fruit. And as a result, she cut her ties with Code. See Sarada, see Kawaki, Sumire's there too, and Kawaki's like, wait, what do you mean? Essentially, Code is now on his own. He may have regained full power, but he lost his powerful comrades. And Boruto's like, wow, that's great news. Sorry to cut ties. Then what's Ada's situation now? Or her status, if you will. And she says she's currently heading here to Konoha, which stuns everybody. Kawaki's like, what the? You mean she jumped ship to our side? That's right. And there lies the issue. All skills and jutsu are powerless thanks to her ability. And the Hokage's power and influence mean nothing to her. She doesn't need to follow anyone's orders. See the look on Boruto's face, get back to Shikamaru. If she wanted to, wouldn't it be difficult for her to just take over and not and not and not just Konoha or the Land of Fire, but the entire world? I'm not exaggerating. That's how much freedom she has. And Boruto just goes like, "That's terrifying." You get it, right? We've got to avoid making an enemy out of her at all costs. And to that end, I devised this next mission of yours. Kawaki, Sumire, Boruto, Sarada, Mitsuki. It wouldn't be an overstatement to say that it all hinges on your actions, whether Ada ends up as a friend or a foe to Konoha. And Sarada says, what? What do you want us to do? Cohabitate. Sarada's like, huh? What's cohabitate mean? And Mitsuki says, live together. And Kawaki's like, you're kidding, right? And Konohamaru says, not at all. We're absolutely serious. Listen, it's not gonna be like some ultra fun Team 7 boarding house. The only cohabiting will be Boruto, Kawaki, and Ada. What? And even Boruto says the same thing. And Kawaki just left kind of stunned. Which is funny because the second you come back to Ada, she's like totally flustered, and Amado's like, wait, what's the matter, Ada? Living together from the get go? Cut back over to them, and Kawaki's like, that ain't funny. What for? And Boruto's like, yeah, we don't have time for fun and games. And Sarada says, hold on, I think I get it. This mission's goal. It's surveillance, right? And Kawaki looks at Sarada, and Shikamaru says, good intuition. Good intuition. Correct. I've already explained Ada's level of risk. Normally, regulations would dictate that she be monitored. However, our usual methods would likely end up getting compromised. Because there's a chance that the Watchers would voluntarily do things that are favorable to her. Even if Ada herself didn't deliberately try anything. And again, you got Sarada there, and then Shikamaru continues to explain. In that respect, Otsutsuki won't become captives of her. Thus, only Boruto and Kawaki can fill those roles. And Boruto's like, so we're to be her watchdogs to make sure Ada doesn't stir up mischief? That's right. In any case, at the very least, determine how willing she is to cooperate with Konoha. What did I do to earn this? Besides, what if she decides she's not on board with this plan? If that's the case, she'll have to give up her chance to be allowed inside Konoha. This is a safety measure that we can't budge. It's sort of like, but isn't that too forceful? Starting stance? And Shikamaru says, well, we don't want to do anything to piss her off, of course, but we need to draw the line somewhere. We'll end up tightening the noose around our own necks. If we give her the upper hand with a weak deal, besides, I have a feeling that Shelby came about this cohabitation proposal, which again leaves Sarah kind of puzzled. And Mitsuki says, "Any specific grounds for thinking so?" And then that's when you have Shikamaru sweating at this whole thing because he's like, it's awkward for me to be saying this, but since it's crucial to the success of this mission, Ada's got a crush on you, Kawaki. And Kawaki's just like, the hell you mean? Boruto, same thing. He's like, wait, what? Sorry, for real? And again, you have Ada still being like super, super flustered. Uh, he said it. Ah, dear Shika, how could you? And he's like, huh? Well, what happened? What? Have they been talking? Have they been talking about ever since earlier? And Damon's like, whoa, you okay, Big Sis? Your heart's but dumping out of this world. I might die before we reach Konoha. And she embraces her little brother. She says, don't worry, Damon. It's fine. In fact, it's more than fine. This is exactly what I've been seeking. Right now, I am truly, fatally in love. And then that kind of leaves Amino not questioning, but he's kind of left it back. I kind of wonder. Then cut back to Shikamaru. This is Ada's number one reason for coming to Konoha. Kawaki, I don't want to intrude on your private life or personal feelings, but just be really careful how you react towards her. How you react towards her. I ain't exaggerating when I say that Konoha's future hinges on your conduct. And he's like, damn it, for real? And Boruto's still like eyes wide and everything. He's like, hey, any ordinary person crushes on Ada, right? So she's got a huge pool to pick from. Why go after Kawaki on whom her ability doesn't work? And Sumire takes note of that. Because, I mean, we've seen in the anime that, yeah, Sumire does have feelings for Boruto. And going off from that scene in the manga when she was talking to Sarada, she did flat out tell her that, like, yeah, I do like Boruto. So, this is where Sumire starts talking. She's like, this is purely a guess on my part, but isn't it a bit distasteful to think that someone likes you because of an innate ability or some jutsu of yours? And again, Boruto was looking over at that, same with Sarda, and then of course you get Kawaki. I think that this Miss Ada just wants to experience a completely ordinary romance. Not that I know for sure. Again, Boruto doesn't really know what to say. Got Mitsuki too. And then come back to Ada, come back to Kawaki. I don't get it. It's just plain illogical. Maybe she's stupid. And Shikamaru just goes ahead and says, by the way, you should avoid saying any bad things about her. She can see everything and hear it all. She has those abilities too. Wait, what? What the heck? No way. Are you serious? She might not actually be watching us this moment, but it seems she can also replay past events, like skimming through a video recording. For real? That's way beyond cheating. And again, you can tell Kawaki's not like super into this. He's like, oh, God damn it. But Shikamaru says, at any rate, everything being said here should be considered leaked. Of course, I'm disclosing your mission to you, knowing that. So the diplomatic maneuvering has already begun, right, Ada? Which, again, Ada doesn't really have anything to say. But Kawaki says, so in short, you want us to monitor Ada and play nice with her as much as possible. Yup, that would be most appreciated of we of Konoha. Or by we of Konoha. I don't really like this. I'd rather throw myself at code. And Shikamaru says, be that as it may, it's downright impossible to nail down that bastard's location. But if we gain Ada's help, we'll know his movements precisely. And again, that's left Kawaki in thought. And then Konohamaru says, and you, Boruto, your job doesn't consist of just monitoring Ada. You'll be there to mediate between Kawaki and Ada too. And Boruto's like, huh? We can't just see Kawaki managing all this alone, so it might seem overblown, but remember, the two of them not hitting it off means Konoha's future is in peril as well. The boy was like, wait, no way. That's the attitude you should have. Got it? But I don't know why. I kind of got. I was thinking of Anya from Spy X Family with the expression board has. He's like, this mission is annoying. In addition, Sarada and Mitsuki, you'll be watching the three of them from outside together with me. You see Mitsuki, and then you see Shikamaru. Your main job will be sending us status reports, but you're to jump in and defuse the situation if any trouble breaks out. Wipe your teammates' butts for them, as it were, since we have no idea when Boruto might run amok. And again, there's sweat running down on Sarada's face. And Shikamaru says, that being said, how much Ada's influence will affect each of you is still an unknown factor. The sensory unit will be continuously supporting you, but report any odd behaviors you see in each other right away, so we can deal with it. As Harda says, yes, sir. Listen, no matter how difficult a situation you're in, there's a order of priority to the actions you ought to take. And the more extreme the circumstances, the faster you need to determine what that is. An advisor to the Hokage. That's the overwhelming bulk of my work. Thus, to tackle the issues that we need to resolve uh, provincially, I came up with this plan. I'm not asking whether you can do it or not. Rather, it's will you do it or not? And Boruto says the answer is obvious. Since there doesn't seem to be any option to say no, give me just one quick second, guys. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I had a little bit of a phone call on my end of things, but it's done. Which, again, this is actually kind of perfect because now we transition over to the top of the Hokage's office, where we see Sasuke. It's not just Ada and Kawaki. Boruto's a target of the monitoring too. This is glorified house arrest. Though, if you authorize it, I have no say in the matter. See Naruto, and he says both Boruto and Kawaki are the type to rush into a fight, even against someone they have no chance of defeating. They wouldn't meekly obey if we ordered them to stand aside. By assigning them on a mission and giving them responsibilities, you put them cleverly under control. It's a very Shikamaru like ploy. At least we'll know what they're up to. Better than them dying who knows where. Which, again, Sasuke doesn't really get to say much, but you kind of get an idea of like what he's thinking. And Shikamaru says, "Listen, anything could happen on this mission. There might even be times where you won't be able to wait for orders. In such cases, you have you have leave to play it by ear within your respective roles." And interestingly enough, when this is happening, you see Momoshiki just there, which I'm gonna assume Kawaki noticed. And I can't just borders it, and she's like, "Wait, what is it? Just now? What's the matter?" Which, funny, Sasuke kind of thinks about it too, like, never mind. This is, and he thinks back to just that moment, like when he caught wind of Momoshiki. This is feeling, so this feeling, it's similar to that day. I wonder, Shika, dear, you have such intriguing ideas, and that's where the chapter ends. Ultimately speaking, that is where the chapter ends, and it was an insightful chapter. I'll definitely say it was a really, really insightful chapter. I can't say for sure that we progressed a lot when it comes to the events of the story because let's face it, a lot of this chapter predominantly was just going over what the mission was about. That's it. That's mainly what the mission was, what the chapter was on, is just specifically on the mission. And for a lot of people, that could either be like, all right, we get it. We don't need to drag this out. Or it's like, all right, no, let's get the full details. That way we know what will happen. Now, something may go the wrong way. I'll say that for sure. With as detailed as this mission was, I do kind of feel like we're going to get something that doesn't exactly go well. But I will say the little tease in this chapter it was towards the very end of Momoshiki. And Sasuke even notes that yeah, something about this just feels off. Feels like super, super off. But when it comes to this chapter, last chapter gave like a great plus. This chapter, again, not much on story progression. And for the most part, like it was a simple chapter. It was mainly just going over what the mission was. With little interludes of dialogue from Ada and Amado, and then of course with Naruto and Sasuke, toward like the tail end of the chapter. I'm gonna say it's like a good plus chapter. It's a good plus chapter, Boruto. I'm really, really curious to see what happens in the next chapter with chapter 74. And with chapter 74, I want to say this. I won't be able to cover it the day it comes out because, well, I'm going to be out of town for a few weeks. So the best I'd probably be able to do when it comes to Boruto, as far as a chapter, is like give my quick thoughts on Twitter or on Tumblr. Those are the two places I would check. If it comes to like just a brief, quick thought on my chapter, I'll make a post about it on Twitter. But as far as like doing like an in-depth live stream discussion, like how I'm doing this, you're probably gonna have to wait a few weeks before I get to it. But overall, we have a great plus chapter and a good plus chapter. So I think overall for both chapter ratings, that's like great. It's a great chapter. Like it's great overall for both chapters of Boruto. And like I said, currently we're in the middle of volume 19. So what we're gonna get is gonna be the penultimate chapter of volume 19, and then we're gonna get chapter 75, which will be the end of the volume. And I do definitely think what we get in 74 is gonna lead us into, well, the latter portions of of this volume. But with that said, you guys, that's pretty much all I gotta say when it comes to this live stream discussion on Boruto Chapter 72 and 73. It was a lot of fun talking about the manga again, and like I said, I am curious seeing where we're gonna go moving forward. And aside from that, guys, that's pretty much it. I'm Lukashi7. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more Boruto, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.